Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in and welcome to our channel. My name is Danti and together with my partner Reta, we are going to discuss about an interesting topic, namely post-method pedagogy. And today's discussion will cover three topics, and we are going to start by giving a brief explanation of what post-method pedagogy is. Then we'd like to discuss the principles and the frameworks. We also want to highlight the challenges and opportunities of post-method pedagogy along with the current issues in Indonesia. And without further ado, let's start the discussion.
Post-method pedagogy. Have you ever wondered why it is called post? Does it mean that this is the era after method? And why does the method era have to stop? In this part, we will mainly talk about what's wrong with the era of method, which triggered the emergence of post-method pedagogy. We will also talk about what post-method pedagogy is and is not. So, enjoy! Now try to think about this illustration. Mr. Stark is an American. In this case, he is an English teacher. He is awesome and smart. He was the best graduate from his university and he likes reading books. That's where he was introduced to the era of constructivism. He is a big fan of the approach which says human development is socially situated and knowledge is constructed through interaction. His understanding of constructivism makes him really hate behaviorism. This year, he is teaching English in Java, Indonesia. This is where he met his beautiful student, KKE. KKE is a shy student who is afraid of making mistakes. In teaching pronunciation, Mr. Stark used problem-based learning, one of the constructivism-based method. He will provide a sample pronunciation, ask the students to analyze the language function, and draw conclusion. Later, he will ask the students to practice in small groups so that they can learn from each other and give each other feedback. However, this method raises a problem for the whole class, including KKE. Practicing in small group will make KKE nervous. If she makes mistakes, it will be so obvious. That is why, during the group practice, she will just speak a little. She really missed her old class where the teacher would model the pronunciation and the whole class would repeat after the teacher. She can practice the language without being afraid of making mistakes. Now pay attention to the mismatches in the illustration. Mr. Stark used problem-based learning, a constructivist method which allows knowledge construction through interaction. Meanwhile, KKE preferred drilling, which characterized audiolingualism, a behaviorist-typical method. It is because such drilling activity will lower her anxiety in learning, not because she does not care about her knowledge construction. Mr. Stark is from America, where people communicate in a straightforward way and they tend to speak it loudly. This is totally different from the values KKE holds as a Japanese. Such mismatches are the reasons why post-method pedagogy emerged. The illustration is only a small piece of what's wrong with method. We will explore more as we talk about 5 myths of method. Myth number 1. There is the best method out there ready and waiting to be discovered. The reality is that the formation and implementation of a method have to consider many variables, most of which cannot be controlled. Myth number 2. Method constitutes the organizing principle for language teaching. In reality, classroom processes and practices are also governed by several inextricably linked factors. For example, teacher cognition, learner perception, societal needs, cultural context, political exigencies, economic imperatives, and institutional constraints. Myth number 3. Method has a universal and a historical value. The reality is that methods are actually idealized concepts for idealized contexts, characterized as one size fits all. and based on Western knowledge. Meanwhile, in real EFL classrooms, learners' different reasons to learn make everything more diverse. In addition, teachers have local knowledge gained from years of practical experience. Why don't we make use of them too? Myth number 4. This one regards the artificial dichotomy where the role of theorists is to conceive knowledge, while teachers are the ones who consume it. In reality, teachers use their own intuitive ability and experiential knowledge to decide what works and what does not. Myth number 5. Methods are always seen as something neutral and have no ideological motivation. However, the concept of method itself is actually a construct of marginality. Wait, marginality? How come? Let's see these 4 interrelated dimensions presented by Kumarafadivelu in 2006. There are 4 dimensions methods are messing up with. In the scholastic dimension, the existence of method causes education-related agencies to marginalize local pedagogical knowledge. Most methods were made in West. Therefore, Western-based pedagogy is much more appreciated. In the linguistic dimension, most methods prevent non-native learners and teachers to use their mother tongue linguistic resource. When you learn English, you have to use only English. In the cultural dimension, the cultural orientation is to know what culture in Western countries looks like. Have you ever been taught to bow when you learn how to be polite to someone you just met in English classrooms? Maybe you have, but this is a very rare case. Bowing is more like Asian culture. Why do we learn Asian culture when we learn English? See my point? Regarding the economic dimension, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with the debate between nest and non-nest. Methods were made in Western, and those who know best Western culture are, of course, the Westerns. This is why there was a period where there were significant inequalities between nest and non-nest in terms of working opportunities and wages. All of these crucial problems became the reason of the emergence of post-method condition. This condition is defined by Kumarafadivelu as a sustainable state of affairs that compels us to fundamentally restructure our view of language teaching and teacher education. This is the state which forces us to review the character and content of classroom teaching and refigure the reified relationship between theory and practice. Do not depend on methods.
An introduction to past method has been discussed, and there comes the frequently asked question. Let's take a look at question number 1. Is post-method pedagogy the same as method-free pedagogy? And the answer to the question is no. Post-method pedagogy emerged as a good alternative to the deficiencies experienced by the employment of conventional methods. To put it simply, post-method is an alternative to method. The teachers put their experiences, the knowledge of the methods, and the frameworks provided in the process of deciding their own way of teaching. Thus, they are not totally free in making the decision for an effective teaching and learning, as it involves some important elements. Then we have the second frequently asked question. Is applying post-method pedagogy the same as combining various methods? And the answer to this question is, it depends on the learning context. If the implementation of one method is not enough to address the complexity of language teaching, the teachers may combine the methods. Post-method pedagogy is not the same as eclecticism. Unlike eclecticism, which adopts a package of techniques from various methods randomly, post-method is interlinked with knowledge and practical understanding. This means there are some principles to be kept in mind by the teachers when constructing their own methods.